Welcome to the P.A.S. Report podcast. If you're tired of censorship, outraged by government abuses, and thirsty for real insights, then you're in the right place. Get ready, because here, the fight for freedom never ends. Here's your host, Professor Nick Giordano.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the P.A.S. Report podcast. This is your host, Nick Giordano. I'm glad you could join me. Make sure you are following and subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Also, visit the P.A.S. Report website, pasreport.com, and share this episode with your family and friends because there is a lot to talk about. And I can't think of a better guest than Steve Malzberg. He's been on the program before, a friend of the show. He now hosts a show on his YouTube channel, Steve M Talk. We'll have links up at the PAS Report website. He'll tell us about it. But Steve, I want to welcome you in. How are you?
I'm great. It's so great to see you. I miss our chats on my organized shows, which don't exist anymore. But once I get the capability within me to do guests on my YouTube, you'll be my first guest, I promise.
Well, we always have great discussions. And I really have to start off with the media industrial complex, because as it turns out, the United States government, and I want everyone in America to know this, your tax dollars, the money that you pay, that you work for, that you earn, was going to support subscriptions on Politico. There was tax dollars flowing to the Associated Press, tax dollars flowing to the New York Times. And essentially, you have the government of the United States funding news organizations. Steve, you've been in the media for decades. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, the government never gave me anything, while I was working at these places over my career. Look, this is insane. And you keep hearing, and again, it's the same media is now sitting in judgment of those who are finding all this out. And it's such a conflict of interest. It's mind-boggling. All you get on the media is, Elon Musk, unelected. Elon Musk appointing 19-year-olds, and they're now finding all this information out. Who cares how old they are? I mean, we had an 80-year-old president who wasn't president. Who unelected was running the government when he was president? I'd like to know. So, look, the money to the media outlets is shocking. It really is. I mean, we know they're in the tank for the Democrats. We know they're in the tank for the left. But and we know that they capitulated on Russiagate, on the computer, Hunter Biden's computer, the laptop, and everything else. But to think that they were actually getting money from us, from you and me. We know public TV and National Public Radio and all that. Unfortunately, they're still getting it. I'm waiting for the big executive order on that one from Trump. But Politico, like you said, and other networks, it's an outrage. It's an outrage. It just shows how much we don't know, Professor. How much we don't know. I mean, when we found out from USA, the investigation into USAID, where our money was going overseas. It's not bad enough what they do here on the left to fund and to encourage trans and all, and the people who did the libraries for our kids, what do they call those?
The drag queen story
drag
hours.
Queens, thank you, and DEI. But we were paying for other countries to do the same. I got to tell you. It's outrageous. And just on a side note to the media, if all the Republicans have to do for the midterms is run on what was found out about USA aid and what the funding was for and how the Democrats have now reacted to the discovery of those that funding. I mean, that's just a winning issue. We win again.
And I do want to get into the Democrat reaction to that, but I want to stick with the media for a little bit because I really find this amazing. When Trump won and he was inaugurated, you had all these warnings coming from the same outlets about a free press. Well, if a press outlet's survival is dependent on government assistance, how can that press operate independently? I mean, you really can't bite the hand that feeds you, can you?
Of course not.
That brings into question, but also as someone like yourself that's been in the media for so long, didn't these outlets have a duty and obligation to tell their readers that they were receiving money from the government?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then it's up to the reader or the viewer or whoever to decide, wow, I mean, they misled me for so long. Do I want to continue to turn to them? I mean, they owe it to those people, to all of us, to find out, what's been going on. And look, they're not impartial to begin with, as I alluded to, and as you agree. But if they're getting money, and I don't know that all of them have, and I don't know the list, but I assume we'll find out the list if there is a long list, so very, very soon. So yes, they absolutely owe it to their constituents, if you will, to be honest and forthright and say, hey, here's why we took the money. Here's how much money we took. Here's what we did with the money. If there's an explanation, I would love to hear it. Love to hear it.
Oh, you and I both. And I'd like to know especially how long was this going on for? Because I find it really interesting. If it started in 2021 when President Biden was inaugurated, well, this is the same press that covered up his cognitive decline. It's the same press that was sitting there for years telling us that this is the best Biden ever. And the same press that tried to protect him all the way up until after the debate with President Trump. So I really find that interesting. But I do want to get to the Democrats and their reaction. Like, do you think that Democrats have learned anything since the election?
Chuck Schumer. They put Chuck Schumer out there.
We will win. We will win, even though we just lost.
Oh, my God. No, they've learned nothing because they look at what Trump is doing to DEI, to the discovery of USAID, what it's gone for, the cutting back of it, all the things Trump has done, the illegal immigrants. Somehow they're supposed to be, criminals are supposed to be protected by going into a church or a school. Let's see if that works with U.S. citizen rapists and bank robbers. Maybe that's what they're going to go for. No, they're more out of touch. Professor, they're more out of touch than ever. And I watch what they say and I watch what they do in their press conferences and their statements, and I'm just amazed. I'm blown away. The recent election of the leadership of the Democrat Party. That was like a left-wing, radical-filled nut job fest.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Wow. So no, they've learned nothing. And Hogg is one of the leaders, and then they had we have to stop the votes because we don't have enough non-binary candidates. They had a quota for non-binary, which was explained, and I don't even know really what it is, but it's explained by the guy who said, wait. You're not a female and you're not a male, and we have to have that. So the fact that the public overwhelmingly spoke in the election, in electing Trump, about this issue and these issues, and they keep bringing it up and doubling down and tripling down. You got to really ask yourself what's wrong with them. And then they've taken it a step further. You have, and I call him what I call some others, a radical with a left wing radical with a smile and a soft voice. Hakeem Jeffries, the leader of the Democrat Party in the House, will take it to the streets. Will fight in the streets.
Sounds very insurrection-y to me.
I mean, my gosh! Again, this could be considered, and if it was on the left, that's all you'd be hearing, and that it was a call for violence, and it's not only him. Others have referred to doing it on the street. And, this goes back to Cory Booker when Trump was president the first time, saying because he's the most macho man in the face of the earth, Cory Booker. Make sure you know that. Yeah, his testosterone, he said, makes me want to punch Trump in the face. Where's the investigation into that? Schumer threatens Kavanaugh and Gorsuch, as he put it. You won't know what hit you. Now, they're not reelected, so what would hit them? I mean, no. So in answer to your question, they have learned nothing. This is great for the Republicans. Every time I see, Jessica Tarlov or Cardona on CNN, and I'm thinking, or was Julie Rosinsky, these people are worse than ever. They've learned nothing, and I don't get it. I don't
either. To me, it's completely bizarre because it's not. Listen. Political science isn't rocket science. It's part of the reason I got into the game. and when you think about it, like foreign aid, right? That Americans for the last 40, 50 years have despised the idea of foreign aid. we understand we have to give some money to countries to buy influence and to dictate their policies, but overall Americans hate it. Yet Democrats are choosing that this is the hill they're going to die on. And it really is. You used to have smart Democrats. What's happened to the Democrat Party?
Well, here's the thing. This started a while ago, as you know, when Hillary ran for president. And that already was, 2016, 9 years ago already. Bill Clinton had to apologize for everything he did. He had to apologize for the welfare reform, for the crime bill, for Don't Ask, Don't Tell. All his accomplishments. It was too radical.
Well, 1990s, Bill Clinton would have been a conservative today.
Right. And then even Barack Obama, had a change on gay marriage and different things. And so they are, all you hear in the media, the unbiased media, Professor, is that this isn't the party of Reagan. This is a radical. Nobody would recognize them. That's, again, whenever they say something on the left, it's what they're doing or what applies to them or what they're going to do. Who would recognize this Democrat Party going so quickly to the left, so far to the left, and they're touting? I hear congressmen being interviewed on CNN and elsewhere saying, we need people like AOC's voice out there. What? Is there anyone more? Well, by the way, I would pay on pay-per-view to see a dumb-off between Kamala Harris and AOC. I think that would be fascinating. Who's dumber? Which one is dumber? But that's how they're unrecognizable. They're a radical leftist fringe party. Their approval rating right now is like 30% in the nation. So, and they're digging their grave deeper and deeper. And they think they're going to win by bringing up Elon Musk. I mean, I just don't get anything they're doing, Professor. Nothing.
Well, and that's it. First of all, I think Trump broke them, right? I mean, I think mentally he broke the Democrat Party. I mean, think about what he did. I mean, it's remarkable. 10 years ago, would you ever have predicted that the Democrat Party would be attacking a Kennedy? I mean, that 10 years ago, that would have been insane to think that. And yet that's exactly what they've done. Well, but when we look at the president of the United States and we look at what he's doing, he's being accused of being fascist. He's being accused of dictator. They're like, oh, this is Nazi Germany, 1930s. What I don't get is if we are eliminating positions, terminating employees, offering buyouts to federal employees, if we are taking power away from the agencies and we're downsizing the federal government, we're decentralizing things, doesn't that make the executive branch actually weaker? And isn't that the exact opposite of a fascist society, returning us back to the principles of limited government?
Spoken like a true professor. Yeah, of course. Absolutely. Look, but this is, you would have thought that they would have stopped because they said this about him during his first term, before his first term, after his first term, before his second term, while he was running. What's going to happen? He's a Nazi. He's a dictator. He's this. He's that. And who's given the Nazi a bigger hug than Benjamin Netanyahu? So, and look. Again, none of it makes sense. None of it makes any sense to keep calling him over and over these names, and he's going to do this, and he's a dictator, and it's Nazi Germany, and next he's going to come for this group, and next he's going to come for that group. It just doesn't end, Professor. And I think that so much of that contributed to electing Donald Trump, because who did they see? They saw the guy that they saw yesterday, and I don't want to jump a gun. I don't know if you're going to bring this up, but the bill he signed, the executive order yesterday at the White House to protect women's sports against biological men. When he called up all those young girls, all those little girls that, by the way, Joe Biden would have been still sniffing. Okay, and it's sad that the media never even touched on that. But that's who Donald Trump is. That's who he is, and I mean, he's warm. He does great things. Yeah, he's a character, and yeah, sometimes he says things that are wacky. I've known him since the '80s, and but he's a warm-hearted person who loves his family and loved those little girls that he protected yesterday. And the media then tells the public that sees that, oh, he's a Nazi. He's going to do this to you. You better watch out. And the public says, what the hell are you talking about? Yeah. I mean, enough. Just enough.
That's the thing. I mean, if you sit there and every day, every statement, every action, the Democrats want to raise it to a 5 alarm fire, people begin to turn that off and say, no, actually, we kind of agree with this stuff. It's kind of why we elected him in the first place. But more importantly, when you make everything an issue, then nothing's a real issue. I mean, look at how they overused racism, where the word racism and that label has lost all meaning. But you're someone that knows President Trump. You've interviewed him several times, and you did a recent episode on your YouTube channel, Steve M Talk, so everyone should subscribe to it. We'll have links up at the P.A.S. Report, PASreport.com. But on a recent video that you did, you talked about Gaza, right? So Trump comes out and he says, you know what? Maybe the United States will take over Gaza. We'll make it a paradise. I mean, let's talk. It is prime real estate. It's an area that could have been built up to be one of the best tourist destinations in the entire world. But the $160 billion that Hamas and Gaza received since 2005 all went to weapons to kill people because they're a terrorist organization. But when he says something like that, and then everyone goes nuts, explain it to the American people.
Well, I don't know that he can explain it to the American people. And I want to make it clear, I'm not like a buddy-buddy with Trump, but yeah, I've known him since the 80s when he bought the Jersey Generals of the USL. I was doing sports then, and he came on our sports show, and then I've interviewed him so many times over the years. The day after the Super Bowl, when I started my Newsmax, I was the first show on Newsmax TV. Donald Trump was my first guest. He tweeted out that he was going to be my first guest. It was so we had, I've had him on for forever. Yeah, when he said that, I think Benjamin Netanyahu looked a little shocked, to be honest with you.
Wiles?
Yes. And what did Donald Trump say? Oh, all world leaders, they're all in favor of this. And, of course, they came out and they said they're not. This has to be something that he's been thinking about. He's hinted at what a great place it could be. Jared Kushner has hinted in the past what a great place it could be. Look, it should be pointed out that when Israel gave Gaza to the Palestinians, they left them with an infrastructure. They left them with greenhouses and all kinds of things to facilitate making it into a wonderful, livable, great place. And the first thing they did was tear down anything that Israel left them. And then, as you pointed out, every dollar that came in to help the Palestinians went to build these, think of what it cost, these tunnels, where the network of tunnels and the weapons and the sophistication, while the people starved and lived like, terribly.
Peasants.
So, but what was Donald Trump thinking? It's got to be some kind of negotiation tactic.
Well, you know him. So the main thing is, when he speaks, it's like in America, I don't know, we lost our ability to think critically, right? When he speaks, everyone takes the exact literal things he says.
Right.
When Donald Trump is known to say things for a reason. He says them to do something. So when we look at the Israeli-Palestinian situation, the Arab governments, what solutions have they come up with over the last 20 years? Well, they haven't come up with anyone. I could assure you they don't want the United States on their doorstep again in another piece of territory. I could assure you Communist China doesn't want to see our sphere of influence expand even more in the Middle East. And so maybe it's the press when they go apoplectic, or the Democrats, maybe it's let's not take them literal and let's see where this goes.
Yeah, this is going to be negotiations. First of all, he says, of course, Hamas.
And it's a terrible idea. I don't think we should take
American
any part
troops,
of Gaza. That would just be a
American
disaster.
troops would have to be there. They'd be a target. It's a quagmire. It's a quagmire. It's been a quagmire since the Palestinians got it back and Hamas took over. And it's still a quagmire, and it'll always be a quagmire to one extent or another, with American soldiers paying the price. So, no, that's not going to happen. But he's making it clear that the status quo isn't acceptable. He kind of said, oh, by the way, of course, Hamas won't be there. Well, Hamas is there now. I heard him say the other day that when Netanyahu, finishes the job on Hamas, then blah, 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 blah. So there's a long way to go for that, obviously, because phase 2 of the ceasefire is being negotiated, or will be negotiated now. I don't think they'll get to phase 2. We've seen this show of strength that Hamas puts on every time they release prisoners. They're there. So they'd have to be gone, according to Trump. Well, how are they going to go? So the whole thing is just he throws things out, and then settles for less, but it's better than what's there now in every aspect of when he makes a deal. He's a deal maker. That's not anything earth-shattering, and that's what he's trying to do here, facilitate some kind of deal down the road that will improve the lives of the Palestinians, but also, of course, secure Israel's security more so than it is right now.
Yeah, it reminds me of like the whole, we're going to dismantle the Department of Education. Well, first, only Congress can dismantle the Department of Education. Right. But what I find amazing is that you have people on the left, the Democrats, the teachers union, Randy Weingarten, all going apoplectic about this. They're outraged of even entertaining the idea. Meanwhile, the National Assessment for Educational Progress just released last week the nation's report card to show that we remain at historic lows, that our education system is fundamentally broken. Shouldn't we be more outraged about that than about the dismantling a Department of Education that has proven it's failed?
That's another thing that will come up that will be addressed and will be taken care of, and the public will know about it. See, all these things under a Democrat administration, I keep telling friends and thinking, okay, what would be happening today if Kamala Harris were president and the Democrats controlled the House and the Senate?
Are you trying to give me a nightmare? I don't know.
I know. It is so scary. But you're right. And these are things that the public has to be made aware of, and it's common sense. Who could say, oh, we care more about the Department of Education, Randy Weingarten's unions, her teachers being happy and satisfied, than, hey, this is the way it is now and has been for years, and our kids can't read, they can't write. So, of course, overwhelmingly the public, 80% on immigration, 80% on this, 80% on that. I'm sure 80 or more will be saying, hey, you do what you got to do to the Department of Education to make it work for our kids. That's what's wrong with the Democrats. They're fighting battles that there's not even a premise for this. There's no logical explanation for these battles. And they're coming out, holding press conferences, pumping fists on every one of these issues. And you got to scratch your head. But for them, lucky for them, they have a media that takes it up, that puts on these shows radical leftists who agree with what the Democrats are doing, think the Democrats aren't going far enough. And that's the losing message.
Well, so I mean, it's clear the American people aren't paying attention to the media anymore. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But are you surprised at the lightning speed that this administration is moving with? Because it's clear it has it has me off balance, but it has the Democrats off balance, where every day they're trying to chase down something else and they can't focus on a coherent argument. Like if they want to defend U.S. aid, pick some good programs in U.S. aid and defend those programs. But don't sit there and try and justify the wasteful spending on, Iraqi Sesame Street or lesbian operas or whatever they want to do. It's completely insane. Well, are you surprised, though, at the speed that Trump is moving?
I can't keep up with it, and I've never seen anything like it. And I think they've learned so much from the first administration, where, they probably went step by step and didn't have the right people in place.
Well, I don't mean to interrupt you. That's a good point. So this is the first time in our lifetime, only second time in U.S. history, that you had a president that served 4 years, lost, and now got reelected. So 2 non-consecutive terms. Do you think that 4-year break may actually have been extraordinarily beneficial, where he really thought out what he wanted to do, mapping out his second term and how he could push forward the agenda?
Absolutely. He and the people surrounding him, and then, to be honest, the people surrounding him are his sons and some other people who were high-level campaign officials the first time around, because he didn't have much use for a lot of people in his first administration. We've seen that. And so I think the plan, and once he won the election, and in preparation for winning the election, I think there was a game plan. And I think Project 2025, I think Trump was honest when he said, I don't know about it. It's not my platform. I'm not. It's not mine. I think he was honest, but I think that was written out, and a lot of the things he's doing was in Project 2025, which he was made aware of after the fact. When he said it wasn't his. He meant it. It
well,
was
let's
the truth.
face it. I mean, the Heritage Foundation issues this
Right.
report every 4 years
Right.
to
Right.
influence Republican administrations.
But it wasn't
and
Trump's. It was like when he told the media, "That's not mine," or when he answered to Kamala Harris, "I didn't write it." I don't know what's in it. I believe him. But now some of the things that are it was already pre-planned. It was there for them, and now they're in a position based on their experience from, as you pointed out, the first term, where they could get it done. And they are throwing that. They're saying, try to stop us. Here, go to court with this, go to court with that. Here. Every day it's something else. And good for them. I hope it keeps up.
And we're Republicans because, when you look at Republicans for decades, they constantly campaigned on limited government. They constantly campaigned on reining in wasteful spending and downsizing the federal bureaucracy, putting in more oversight over the abusive powers of the executive agencies, where they issue regulations without the actual statutory authority to do so. What do you think about Republicans? What do you think the Republicans in Congress, and I'm not talking about the conservatives, all right? A lot of conservatives in Congress support. I'm talking about the milquetoast, Mitch McConnell's. What's going through their mind right now?
Oh, well, I think the Mitch McConnells despise Trump. And someone like Mitch McConnell at this stage of his political career is in a position to defy Trump. But I think a lot of the Republicans who would normally, if it wasn't Trump, if Trump wasn't proven to have the popularity that he has and the influence that he has and the power that he has when it comes to making sure someone's primaried, making sure someone doesn't win again, making sure that people become persona non grata, politically speaking, in the party and to their voters. I think if it were a different situation, different leader, different person in charge, they would revolt. They would say no. But I think because it's Trump and because of all the things I just alluded to, they're going to say yes. There might be one or two or three, and in the Congress that could be a problem. But I think ultimately, when push comes to shove, they'll stick together and they'll get things done.
And do you think, because a lot of Republicans, they like the status quo. They like the gravy train just as much as Democrats. And even though they constantly campaigned on conservative ideas, they never followed through. Do you think this actually now forces them to follow through on ideas that even though they campaigned on, they never fulfilled?
Oh, absolutely. Again, for all the same reasons, because when, if with the party moving in that direction and the party doing it and the leader of the party and, and the groundswell of the party and the public support for so many things that Trump's doing, how could they say no? How could they say no? It just doesn't make sense. Of course, you got the Democrats who, by the way, one thing we left out, already coming up with bills to impeach Trump. Should they win the House back, God forbid. But as far as the Republicans, no, they will coalesce. They will unite. Now, I know there's debate in the House and Senate, one bill, two bills to include the tax bill in the first one bill that Trump wanted, or make it two separate bills. That to me is, I just think that's a bunch of ado about nothing, I hope. And everything will get done, whether it's one bill or two bills. I don't think it really matters.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Republicans now understand, particularly after the defeats that they faced over the last several years, that they need to show that they're competent individuals that could actually get stuff done. Right. And I actually think there are, and we see it, some Democrats willing to work with Republicans. There are some Democrats who recognize that their party has gone off the deep end and are willing to work with Republicans. Now, Steve, tell everyone about your YouTube channel. Everyone's got to check it out.
Yeah, go to YouTube, and the channel is Steve M. Talk. One word, Steve M. like Malzberg or Mary. Talk, and you might have to Google it search for it on Twitter for it to come up, and check out the videos. I mean, they're not as sophisticated yet as the professors. It's just me going on for about 10 minutes or so. But subscribe, do what you do for the good professor. Subscribe and share the videos with your friends. And I promise I'll try to make it as interesting and progress to the point where you'll see the professor and other guests with me as you see with him. And of course, I I thank you so much for, and all my social media is Steve M Talk, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, whatever, Instagram. So YouTube, Steve M Talk, and I thank you for the opportunity to plug it. You're a great friend, and I always value our friendship and our conversations.
Always, Steve. And I'm sure over the next few months, we're going to have plenty to talk about. So everyone needs to tune in to the P.A.S. Report. Visit PASreport.com and share this episode with your family and friends. Thanks for joining me, Steve.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the P.A.S. Report. Don't forget to rate, share, and hit that subscribe button. That way you'll never miss an episode. For more exclusive content and updates, visit us at PASreport.com and follow Professor Giordano on all social media platforms at PAS Report.